Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSPmagazine. You're listening to a new episode of KnightLife with Alissa Knight. Alissa and other KnightLife guests will explore the trichotomy of passions in Alissa's life: cybersecurity, content creation, and entrepreneurship. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
I am so excited to announce that we have Phillip Wylie here on the show as a special guest. He's a veteran penetration tester, educator, founder of the Pwn School Project, co-author of the Pen Tester Blueprint. He's also the part of several nonprofits, including Hacking is Not a Crime and Innocent Lives Foundation, and Mr. Wiley hails from Carrollton, Texas. Phillip, thanks for being here. I'm so glad you're here.
It's an honor to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Alissa. I'm a big fan of yours. You're one of my favorite hackers, and the more I learn about you, the more I'm a fan of other things too. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. We need to nerd out on AV gear one day.
Yes,
we'll definitely do it. And I was just on Phillip's show just recently as well, so I thought it would be awesome to have him here and have my audience get to know him better as well. So speaking of which, Phillip, why don't you just kind of start from the beginning? Where did you I got started with BBSs. Where did you start? Tell us about the journey of Phillip Wylie.
Do you want the scenic route?
The scenic route for sure. Anyone who follows my show knows I want the scenic route. And also, I do have to say this. I got to ask, is there any sort of connective tissue between you and Wiley and Sons? Because every time I see your name, my publisher Wiley, is the first thing that comes to mind. I wonder if he's related to John Wiley. But anyway, no affiliation at all.
No, it's kind of funny because the funny connection with that is they spell their name different than I do. So it's a common misspelling of my name. So a lot of people,
that's a good point,
misspell my name.
I would see, and I think in my show notes, I even spelt it like John Wiley spells it. So, but okay, well, yeah, all right, okay, that makes sense. So now, all right, since there is no affiliation, I've just lopped off half my show. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Tell your story, man. Tell your story.
Yeah, so long ago in the galaxy far, far away, when I graduated high school back in, go ahead and date myself, back in 1984, computers were just getting into the school. I had no clue about computers. My brother had one of the little Timex computers you hook up to your TV, and neither one of us knew what to do with it or whatever. But we had computers in school. They had some Macs, just got Macs into the art studios, and they had some IBM PCs, but only the smart kids used them. And so that was something I had no experience with. So when I graduated high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I'd started lifting weights in 1980. And then my senior high school actually started competing in powerlifting.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is an interesting journey. I do have to ask you, did you say PC Lab or Mac Lab? Because at the time it was always Mac Labs. It was rare, a school had a PC Lab. So
they had both.
Okay.
It was PC Lab to start out with, and then they got some Macs for the art department there for the art classes. Okay.
Little Mac 2s, or what year was this?
Yeah, it was an 84.
Oh, okay.
So it must have been the little
Oregon Trail on the Mac 2.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So I was a powerlifter, and actually I'm a one-time world champion. I won the drug-free world championships back in 2007.
Oh, wow.
But so my friends, since I was a powerlifter and a fairly good sized guy, they said, why don't you be a pro wrestler? In the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it's the home of the Von Erich family, which wrestling was really popular here in Dallas. So I thought, yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. So I went to wrestling school, did that for a couple of years, got married, and needed a more stable income. And really all the travel and stuff wasn't conducive to marriage or having a family. So I got out of wrestling. Well, I did do it for a couple of years. I've got some videos on YouTube. I wrestled some very yeah.
I did not expect this show to go in this direction. Power lifter, wrestler. What is happening right now? This is amazing. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, this is actually kind of where Ushi from Twitter, she actually had kind of dubbed me at one point the Chuck Norris of InfoSec.
I was about to say, like, soon there's going to be some martial arts talk, and that's amazeballs. I love this. I absolutely love this.
So actually, during the time when I wrestled, I'd wrestled the Road Warriors. I wrestled Mick Foley. He's pretty well known.
This was like, you were like a thing. This was like not some hobby. This was like a major thing in your life.
Yeah, the sports entertainment type wrestling on TV. I've got some videos of that. I wrestled the Road Warriors.
Oh my God.
So even during that time,
basically, like, if I'm looking for a bodyguard, I need to just call you up. Like, you're what, like 8 feet tall? Like, how tall are you?
I'm 5'10" and
okay.
I'm like 210. But back in my prime, back when I was wrestling, I was about 260.
Okay.
And a lot leaner.
Yeah.
Actually, before I started wrestling, I wanted to be a bodyguard. So I was actually trying. I just never could find an in to being a bodyguard. I met Tom Landry's valet when I was working security at a charity ball back in probably about 84, 85 is this Christmas charity ball that they were raising money. And Tom Landry's valet was there. We were talking and he gave me a number of some agency, but they didn't handle bodyguards. So that didn't pan out. So during the wrestling thing, one of the interesting stories too, is I wrestled a bear. So whenever I was wrestling, I didn't make enough money wrestling because I was wrestling one night a week. And so the nightclub I was a bouncer at, they brought a bear in, the 750-pound brown bear, and I wrestled the bear.
Well, hold on. Wait. You wrestled a live bear, like a grizzly bear?
Wasn't a grizzly bear, not as big as grizzly, but it was a brown bear. It's like a 750-pound bear.
Oh my God. Phillip, this is insane. Okay, you need to write a book. Forget about me. Nobody wants to hear about me. Everyone wants to hear about this bear wrestling. Oh my God. So, holy cow. And you lived to tell about it.
Yes.
You had to have gone to the hospital after that, right? Like, did that thing put you in the hospital?
Fortunately not, but I did injure my foot. When I was wrestling the bear, I wrestled twice, and I've got a picture. I have to share the picture with you sometime. But there's a picture of me wrestling the bear. And how I know it's me is whenever I was wrestling the bear, whoever did the best against the bear won a bar tab. And after that first time, it was like impossible. I said, I'm not going to do that again. And so after the bar tab, the manager of the bar come back around and said, hey, you want to wrestle a bear again? By this time, I had a lot of liquid confidence. So I decided I'd wrestle the bear again. So I ended up hyperextending my foot. So I ended up having to go to the doctor next day and get it checked out. I didn't fracture anything, just kind of hyperextended my foot. So the next morning. So
it's not because the 750-pound bear was sitting on your foot. It was because you did something else.
I stepped wrong and hurt my foot.
Okay, I think we're on episode number 25 or something with Night TV. This is the most interesting episode I've ever had, for sure. Okay, so you wrestled a bear, lived to tell about it. How do you go from bear wrestling to pen testing? What happened there?
Okay, so like I said, I had to find a more stable career because I was married. So I worked retail sales, I worked manual labor, and none of the stuff I really liked. And one of my last jobs before I decided that I need to get some sort of education, I was working for this jewelry store chain. They decided they wanted to start another one, that they wanted to make it a bigger chain. And they wanted me to be like an assistant manager of the store. The store manager had someone else in mind. I just kind of learned, I've got to get out and learn, get a skill that I can make money regardless of politics. And so
the magic of a woman, leave it to a woman to clean up a man. All right.
But at any rate, I ended up going to, I finally one day saw on TV, I needed to do something. I tried to get into the military, but part of the reason I couldn't get in there is when I was 15, my brother shot me and I still actually have the bullet in me. And so one of the branches of the military wouldn't take me because I have a bullet in me. The other one, because I was a lifter and kind of heavy, I was too heavy by their standards.
Oh my God. So you've also been shot.
Yes.
So bear wrestling, and shooting victim. Oh my God. Okay. So I'm assuming this was an accident that your brother shot?
Yes. Yeah. He was playing with the gun, accidentally shot me. The bullet went in through my arm, angled through, just barely under the skin, went in my side, collapsed my lung, pumped out of the lung through my heart. So when they got me to the hospital in Denton, Texas, the bullet was in my heart from where it pumped out of my lung. So they sent me from Denton, Texas to Dallas, Texas, which is about 30 miles or so. So they got me there to Dallas, cracked me open to take the bullet out, and didn't see any place it went in. They took x-rays again. The bullet was no longer in my heart. It pumped out of my heart and lodged in the bend of my leg, and it's still in the bend of my leg.
Oh my God. I think we can end this episode right here. That was the crowning moment of this episode. Oh my God. Okay. So I do have to ask, what's the bullet? Is it 45 or a 9mm?
It was a 22 long rifle shell.
Oh my God. Okay. Keep going. I don't know if I can handle the rest of this interview.
The rest of it gets less violent and
okay. Wow.
So all the scary stuff happened.
Well,
before
it's interesting with your your life and what you did. I'm surprised. Everyone who knows me knows I did the whole defense contracting, Hyverstone close protection thing, Blackwater days. I'm surprised you never went off and got into Hyverstone close protection and started working for a defense contractor like Triple Canopy or Blackwater or anything like that. You never had any interest in going off to do that?
I just really probably didn't have the knowledge of it. If I would have had, friends that knew that sort of thing to recommend it, that was just something I had no idea about.
Yeah. Well, and I think I don't know when you got married, but that may have been after your wife kind of came in and said, no more. You're going to get a desk job and a suit and tie and that's it. Yeah.
Actually, honestly, it was my decision because I just knew it would be better marriage wise. Because that was my ex-wife, and I think part of the attraction to me at the time was I was a pro wrestler, so that was kind of kind of a cool thing. But so I ended up going to CAD school.
Okay.
And once I got into CAD school, like I said, I had no exposure to computers. So when I got into CAD school, I was probably one of the people that had the least amount of experience. And so then once I got working out in the industry as a CAD draftsman, a lot of these offices I worked in, they didn't have dedicated IT. So I figured out how to fix computers. When something went wrong, I would figure out how to fix it. And I found out that I had more of a knack for things. So I decided I wanted to be a system administrator because we had a sysadmin that came into one of the offices where I worked, and they were billing $50 an hour. This was in 95.
Yeah.
And we billed $30 an hour for our drafting services. So I knew that this guy was making, typically, we were getting about half of what the company was billing. So I figured these people doing the sysadmin work are making $10 an hour more than I am. And it looks a lot more interesting. So I taught myself how to build computers, took a Novell NetWare class, which was a 90-day course for the C&E certification.
NetBUI. Novell NetWare. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I know that you had actually started out as a sysadmin, and it's really interesting because I always tell people that the best hackers are former sysadmin and former network engineers because they understand the system. They understand networking. They understand TCP/IP and three-way handshakes and TCP and UDP and all of those things. So I think that made you a more effective pen tester.
That definitely laid the foundation because, it's like I tell my students and people I mentor, if you get a command line access to a system, you're going to have to know the command line. And then from the sysadmin background, if you got right permissions, you can shut down firewalls, you can start and stop services, you can do all sorts of things. Or if you don't know that, you're going to do a lot of Googling. So the sysadmin thing, it was right around the time the .com thing was really taking off. A lot of people were hiring sysadmins. So I was lucky I was able to skip the whole help desk and desktop support thing and jump right into doing sysadmin work. So I did that from 97 to the end of 2003. And then 2004, I moved over to the security team, and I was doing network security, did that for about a year and a half. The company hired a CISO, and then the CISO kind of divided us up. Before that, everyone was doing network security. Everyone was doing vulnerability scans, doing the same thing. And so he separated us into different silos, and I got put in application security. I got to do web application vulnerability scanning, learned about penetration testing. I was managing third-party pen tests. And so when I got laid off from the job, I've been there like 14 years. Back in 2012, I went to work consulting as a penetration tester and spent the first 5 years of my career consulting. And then I went to work for a bank as an internal pen tester. And I've been like a red team lead. And then probably about September or so, I focused more on the education side of things. And I'm getting ready to go back into full-time pen testing, offensive security. I like teaching, but that's more of a thing that I want to do part-time and focus more on, the offensive security, learning this stuff so I can be a better teacher.
It's interesting to me. And that's one of the things about penetration testing that I always loved the most is that it's not a very stagnant job, because if you think about pen testing, it's always changing, right? Whether you rely heavily on Metasploit modules and you're waiting for that next module to come out, or you write the Ruby module yourself, or, zero-day exploits and finding a new attack vector or way to pivot around within the network once you have a beachhead. I just love that about cybersecurity. It never stays the same. And there's always something fresh and new, whether it's a zero-day exploit or something else. So what's for you, what has always kind of been that passion for you? Like what about penetration testing in particular versus forensics and incident response, or just general security administration where installing firewalls? Like what is it about penetration testing that sort of has floated your boat?
Yeah, it's just kind of the hacking part of it. I was really interested in that because before I even got into security or penetration testing, I used to get some of the, I had like the Hacking Exposed books. I had Ed Skudis's book, the Hacking Counter Hack.
Yeah.
And it used to come with the little ISOs with the different vulnerable environment stuff, playing around with that. I was really interested in that. So that's what got me into it, interested in. That's probably one of the things that really kept me out of management. I've really enjoyed the technical side of things and pen testing. So that's really been hard to give up, which a lot of people that are my age that's been in the industry as long as I have moved into, management several years ago, but I've got to have fun with what I'm doing. I like being passionate about what I do, and that keeps me going. It keeps me wanting to work. A lot of people are wanting to retire. My age, they're starting to think about when am I going to retire? And for me, it's like, as long as I'm still enjoying this and having fun, I'm not even going to think about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's for me, the difference between a job career and a lifestyle. And I'm always telling people that cybersecurity isn't a job. It's not a career either. It's a lifestyle. I mean, it's you have to love this or you've got a very short shelf life, because it's, it's not 9 to 5. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't know when the last time was I had an actual weekend, where I wasn't having to work or do something, or deal with a ransomware breach, or, it's constant. It's constant. You're always on call. It doesn't matter what team, whether you're on the red team or blue team, it doesn't matter. It's not 9 to 5.
I agree. And if you're not putting in that extra time to learn, you're going to get behind real quick.
Agreed.
Because the young new people are coming in, they're all excited and motivated, and they're going after it. And if you don't, and as well as I do, is the way technology evolves, you've got to stay on top of your game. And there's so much stuff to keep up with. And there's certain areas that require that more than others. And pen testing is one of those areas that you have to, keep up with it. So.
Yeah. And there's also these other areas that are a lot more niche, and also a lot more arcane than the other areas of general pen testing, like pen testing APIs, right? A lot of hackers, especially web app pen testers, I know as soon as they see JSON, they freak out and they move on. Just because you're a web app pen tester doesn't mean you know how to pen test APIs. And pen testers that can hack a Linux or a Windows box running IIS or Apache doesn't mean that they can hack embedded systems or an electronic control unit. So there's all these areas of penetration testing you can niche yourself. And it really just depends on what is it you want to do, and making sure that whatever it is, you bring it. You got to bring it every single day, like you said, because there's these new Gen Zers, these millennials now, and they're all coming in and they want that work. They want to learn, you know. And one thing I'm sure you've run into this too, where, you know, being an influencer yourself, you have people that will reach out to you and say, Phillip, teach me how to hack. How do I hack my ex's Instagram account? I get those all the time. But,
Yep.
you know, it's, wanting that shortcut. So what is the advice that you can give this new generation of pen testers coming in? For me, it would be go and read, go and figure it out, because you'll learn a hell of a lot more than if I teach you. But what would your advice be?
The biggest advice I would say is be patient with it, because everyone wants to get it. And I find myself doing that too, you know, because a lot of times us guys, we don't like to read instructions. We like to take whatever out, try to put it together, or start using them before we read them. But yeah, you definitely need to read the manuals. That's a good thing. And some of the best pen testers I know will read the manuals if they find some new technology. But be patient and learn the basics, because you take the time to learn the basics. Because as you mentioned, the sysadmin and network administrator experience being helpful. If you have a good background going in, you're going to be more successful. Some people want to get it to, you know, one instant gratification, want to be hacking right away, and they just have to take time to do that.
Yeah, it brings me back 21 years ago, when I was on IRC and this script kiddie had popped a box, a Linux Apache machine, and somehow, probably with the buffer overflow, the Apache service crashed. And this script kiddie just knew how to deface the website, but didn't know how to actually start Apache after it had crashed, or restart Apache. And, you know, that's kind of what you run into, right? Is if you don't understand those basics, like how to actually use Apache CTL, or, you know, just the basic things, like even a TCP three-way handshake or the OSI model. All of those things are so critical, I think, as foundational elements to any cybersecurity engineer, is understanding routing, the differences between UDP and TCP. You know, all of those things are so fundamentally important.
I agree. And some of the best advice I got when I was very first starting out, the consulting company I worked for first, our manager always told us, he really wasn't encouraging people to take different pen testing courses or hacking courses. He always told us to build something. And that's good. I agree with that advice, because before I became a pen tester, all through my IT career, a lot of my friends that I worked with at the mortgage company, they'd go home, play video games after work. I went home and I was doing web design on the side.
Yeah.
You know, not web development, web design, just your HTML pages and stuff like that. And I hosted my clients' websites on my server. So I had Apache web server installed.
Yeah.
And I set up SendMail for mail transfer, was running my own DNS.
You and I come from the same world. Wow.
And I learned a lot for that. Once I got into pen testing, I was familiar with Apache and some of those other technologies. But some of the stuff I got from my sysadmin days, but, you know, we weren't really using Apache web server in our corporate environment, but just from the building thing that my manager at the time recommended, something I was already doing, is, you know, good advice to give to people. Just, you know, you learn how to build something, you'll learn a lot more. Install a server, you know, install Active Directory in a home lab, you'll get an idea of how it's set up. Because even if you're a sysadmin, you don't always get to build, you know, an Active Directory domain or forest, because sometimes you may go in some place it's already set up. So getting to build that stuff on your own, you're able to learn some of the, you know, details about it that can help you as a pen tester or a security engineer.
Yeah, agreed. So a lot of people who know me know that I like to discuss divisive and polarized topics. And so I want to throw a curveball at you.
Okay.
This show was not scripted, for anyone who follows me knows. So the religious debate over whether or not you need to be a programmer in order to be the best hacker, or even be a hacker at all, is a very prevalent topic. It's a very contemporary issue. It's talked about a lot. You see it on Twitter, you see it on LinkedIn. You obviously have points on both sides of the debate. A lot of those who are debating for, of course, are probably programmers. A lot of those, you know, against are, of course, not probably. Maybe even there's some programmers who disagree as well, which would be great. But where do you fall on that whole debate regarding whether or not you need to be a programmer to be a penetration tester, or be able to write your own exploits to be an effective penetration tester. Do you agree or do you disagree? And why?
I disagree. One of the things I do tell people, especially when they're starting out, I tell them there's really no need to know how to program. If you can modify a script, or if you've got, sometimes you download something off ExploitDB that's written in C and you have to compile it. Maybe the indentions may be off and you have to adjust all that before to compile correctly. But I tell people that's really mainly what you need to start out with. I know there's some really good hackers out there that know how to write their own code and stuff, but you really don't have to, because I know a lot of people that don't know how. So I tell people, my stance has been down the road, as you get experience with this, you might do that, because there's some really good hackers that can write their own code.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I think there's brilliant people on both sides of the debate. I think, I don't know. For me, of course, my opinion, not being a career programmer, is it doesn't matter if you can code or not. And especially today, it's, the ability to get your hands on source code to be able to comb it for buffer overflows. Everything's moved to the cloud. Everything is, and a lot of times, ExploitDB, Metasploit, there's all of these tools available to you where you don't necessarily need to be able to write your own exploit, or create your own Metasploit module. Someone will probably come along and create it for you. And a lot of times, I honestly, and I know a lot of developers, a lot of people who write their own exploits, a lot of people that are on that side of the line, but cannot sit there and tell me when the last time was they were in the middle of a penetration test and had to write a 0-day exploit because one didn't exist. Usually, most companies have vulnerabilities going back 12, 18 months, and you don't need to write a 0-day exploit. You don't need to find a 0-day. There's usually something like Eternal Blue still rolling around in that network that you can use from ExploitDB or Metasploit. So I mean, I agree with you. I don't think you have to be a developer to be an elite an elite hacker. I also believe that adversaries want us to be non-inclusive. They want us to turn against each other and disenfranchise non-programmers, and whatever, whether it's based on your sex, religion, identity, whatever. How do you defeat an enemy that's bigger than you? You turn them against themselves. And I think adversaries want us to do that. So I agree. I agree with you. So knowing what you know now, and you've had you've had a long career. I've seen your resume. It's very impressive. You've worked at some amazing organizations and done some amazing things. You've been both on the builder and breaker side. What's next for you? What are you? You've co-authored a book. You're into coaching, education. You've done a lot of things. What's next in your journey?
I tend to keep up with the pen testing, but one of the things I've kind of come to the conclusion is I really need to find an area to specialize in, because just trying to do all of it is hard to get to be really good. It's hard to be good at everything. So the application or web application stuff's more interesting. So I'm planning on turning my studies more to that and try to get better at that area.
You should start learning API hacking.
I would like that.
Everything's moving to APIs. I just had an interview this morning. I was talking about how it's our financial system plumbing, the plumbing to our healthcare system. It's everything. We're in an app-based world today. Everything is communicating with APIs, IoT. I think as more and more adversaries turn their attention to APIs, because that's where the data is, I think more and more breakers, more and more penetration testers need to turn their focus to APIs as well.
I think that's a good idea, because seeing the amount of pen testers that really understand that is not that many. It just seems like a couple areas that are, and there's more than that, but two areas I know right offhand that there's not a lot of skilled people in those areas. From what I've seen, my experience is cloud and API, because a lot of people, I don't understand API that well. I've done some API pen testing, but I definitely need to learn that area. But definitely those are two areas I think that there's kind of a shortage of talent in. So yeah, you got any good resources for API
yeah,
hacking?
I do. Check out my YouTube channel, my upcoming book. Yeah, would love to partner with you in that journey if that's the next step for you. I also Dr. Katie Paxton Fear is another amazing API hacker who I'm doing a lot of work with and working on some projects with. So she's got some great content as well.
Yeah, she's got some cool stuff.
Yeah, I absolutely adore her. You and I have both been through the certification mill. I went through the CISSP, got my GCIA. I let them all expire. I didn't care about constantly submitting my points and my whatever credits in order to maintain it. I've interviewed many people who had the whole alphabet soup of Cisco certifications, but couldn't tell me the headers of a packet. What is your opinion about certification? And in your views, what do you think was the most relevant certification to real day practical use?
Yeah, what I'd have to say is my view on certifications is sometimes I think too many certifications are almost as bad as no certification, because then you see that and you really get this, especially when it's non-practical exams where it's question and answer type scenarios. Then you start to wonder, is this person a really good test taker? Because usually they got that many certifications they do. And I know some really good pen testers out there that never even took a certification-based course that are some of the best I know. People tend to depend on it too much. I think for people starting out, it's really important. If you work for a consulting company, it looks good for them because they can show you their company resume. We've got so many OSCP, so many OSCs, GPens or whatever. We got all this, and that looks good too. But then when you look at the boutique pen testing firms, they really don't care about that stuff because they got some real ninjas that can, do this, they're really good at what they do, and they don't need the certifications. Yeah.
When you're doing a penetration test, then what is your platform of choice? Are you an Ubuntu guy? Are you a Red Hat guy? What's your platform of choice? Or do you hack on Windows?
Actually, as far as typically the way my preferred OS is Mac OS.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're my new best friend. This is happening. This is amazing. Yeah, I love. Yeah, that's all I use are Macs. I mean, I do have a Linux laptop that's running Ubuntu where, if I have tools like Wrestler or something that will only run on Windows or Linux, of course I'm going to use Linux. But the great thing about Mac OS today is that you can run Linux applications on it, which is great. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's because Mac was the first attack laptop I had, because my first job I worked at, we had Mac. And then when I left that company to go to the next company, they didn't have Mac there. So I didn't want to lose my skills. So I bought my first own MacBook Pro. And then 2018, I got another one, the i9 processor, 32 gigs of RAM. And I recently went all in on Mac, the M1. So I got a MacBook Pro. I was about to say, you
got the M1, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I got a Mac Mini. I got a Mac Mini running the M1 too.
Nice. You know, it's funny. I'm okay. So I will admit I'm in a 12-step program for people obsessed with Apple. And I have it doesn't matter what Apple comes out with. It doesn't matter. Like the AirTags, whatever. I buy it. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. If it's Apple, I'm buying it. And I have I'm now at a point where I have the iMac, I have the M1, Mac Mini, MacBooks, the iPads, the Mac Pro, the cheese grater, all that stuff. And I'm starting to wonder, okay, it's been a few months since I used my iMac. Maybe I should sell it and just stick with the Mac. But you don't want to. You're just so obsessed with it because it's that is why they call us a cult. We are a cult of users, standing out in the rain for that next iPhone or that Mac Mini. I got to tell you though, I'm super impressed with the Mac Mini and the M1 chip. I saw a YouTube video the other day. Not that I would ever try this, but this guy was rendering a 6K raw video foot on his Mac Mini. I couldn't believe it. Here I'm sitting here, with a $15,000 Mac Pro, and I could render the 6K footage that I'm doing on the Mac Pro on my Mac Mini which I paid like $699 for, or whatever the hell it was. It's insane. That M1 chip is insane.
Yeah, really looking forward to see what they do with the ARM stuff. But at least we have to give us Apple fans kind of a little bit of credit because that are technical. Because some people it's just about the brand, like
just to have that
or something.
Yeah. Well, you're right though, because this actually got brought up with Tim Cook in an interview. I don't know if you saw this, but he straight up admitted in the interview where he was like, look, we do not apologize about how expensive our stuff. We do not apologize for the fact that we cater to a certain shopper. We cater to a certain buyer. The buyers that are, walking around with the Louis Vuitton. It is a brand thing, but
yeah,
you're right. You're right. There is a class of people who are diehard, Apple fans who it's not about the brand, it's about the technology.
I agree.
I mean, I don't remember the last time I rebooted my MacBook. I think it was months ago, and that would never happen with my Windows laptop. Yeah,
and it's like it looks good too. It's nice design. I mean, but when you think about one of the things I love about it is it's BSD based operating system.
I love that. I love being able to pull up a terminal shell.
And being used to using Linux for a lot of years, I love it because I got started Red Hat Linux back in '97. So just having a Unix like operating system, I like it. I mean, I use Windows when I have to, but I just really don't. I've never been a Windows fan. And coming from the Novell NetWare world,
oh yeah,
when I started on servers, it's like you hate Microsoft, and you saw the way they were like giving companies Exchange and Outlook to try to get people off other mail systems, give stuff away to get people in, and just that whole dominate, buy everything. All there is Microsoft. You kind of tend to not be a fan, but I mean, just the stability of the Mac. It's like, you rarely have any kind of crashes on your Mac, and my new Macs, I haven't had any kind of crashes on those. And so, yeah, it's the technology too, not just about, a nice looking piece of hardware.
It just works.
Yeah.
It just works. Yeah. Well, I could seriously talk all day with you, and I want to let you go so you can start your weekend. And happy Father's Day weekend, by the way. I don't know if you're a dad.
Yes, I am.
But I guess I should have asked that before saying happy Father's Day. But anyway, good. That's amazing. Yeah. So what are your plans this weekend for Father's Day?
Well, one of my favorite things, one of my daughter and I, one of our favorite things to do is to go to the movies. So not sure what movie we're seeing yet, but we'll have lunch and go to the movies. So.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Well, I'm going to let you enjoy your weekend now. For our audience who is not connected with you yet, where can they find you? You're an awesome influencer and always putting out great content. How can they find you?
Twitter and LinkedIn are the best places. And if anyone has any questions, I do a lot of mentoring and answering questions, so they can feel free to connect with me and DM me on on LinkedIn or Twitter.
Awesome. All right, Phil. Well, you got to promise me soon, if not 2021, 2022, that you're going to start doing video, because I want to see you set up a YouTube channel and start YouTubing.
Yeah, definitely. Those are the plans. So
that would be amazing. All right. Well, call me when you need an AV nerd to discuss that. Figure out.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thanks again, Phil. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It was an honor.
All right.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of KnightLife on ITSPmagazine with Alissa Knight. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share ITSPmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.